the non-diptyan.
All right. Well, my little friend. I still wanted that dogger shaped like Formosa. It's amazing. Oh,
There's a dog shaped like a Formosa. What?
Dogger Bank Island.
Dogger Bank.
And it was like shaped like Formosa. And you had a turn, and that was it. Huh?
Oh, right. Yeah. Formosa, as in
Taiwan.
Yeah, you're not supposed to say that, Roger. You're not supposed to say that.
I won't say that then.
I'm just. We're nearly all ready.
All right.
We're on.
What's the time now? 8 is it?
Right. Okay. Right. Okay. Brilliant. We're ready. We're ready to crack on, boys and girls.
Okay.
Roger, be a good boy now, Roger. Okay. Right. Okay. Let's get started. It's good to have Claire. We haven't had Claire for a while.
Yay.
And that's good that we caught Claire. So let's just start off before we do our Mesolithic Wales. And this was Andy wanted to do this today. So we're doing a bit of Mesolithic Wales, and we're doing a little bit of the Isle of Man. Mesolithic Isle of Man, and we'll be doing a little bit of visiting one or two other sites as well. So I'd like to know, is there any news from Rog? Tell us the latest.
No, nothing more than the thing I sent you.
Okay. Oh yeah, Roger, I had that. It's Dincleith in North Wales. I've actually put that in the newsletter, which is actually printed. So you'll be having a newsletter. Well, you'll be having an Neolithic pillar in the next few days in the post as well.
Good. Okay. It follows up from this eroding away of things, you know.
Yeah, that's correct. So I will be. I'll be going to IG. I'll be collecting the Neolithic pillar tomorrow, so that'll be good. Right. So okay, who else have we got to ask? Say.
Go. Oh.
Where's
Go on, Drina.
No,
Tell us.
No news. Sorry.
Are you sure, Drina?
I'm pretty certain.
You really sure? All right then, love. Right, David. Any news from you, darling?
No, dear. Thank you.
It's good to hear David's voice. I just do this just to hear David's voice. What about you? Where's Claire?
She's gone. She's had enough.
Already?
Well, we just started. What?
That's the wrong button, Mike.
It happens.
Well, talking about pressing buttons and knobs, we got to do sweaty knickers. Margaret, go on, Margaret. Tell us some news.
That's a lovely description.
Oh.
Well, a friend of mine's just been on his holidays to Norfolk, and he went to visit Grimes' graves.
Nice grave.
So he's brought me the brochures back, and I didn't know that there was so much at Sutton Hoo. I only know about the King Redwold and the ship, but they found a skeleton of a boy with a horse. Did you know about that?
That was in a separate burial. Yeah, that's right.
A separate burial.
In 1960s, I think that was found. Yeah.
And they found who they think is King Redwold's queen in another mound, which I didn't know about. So there you go. And he said Grimes' graves was very disappointing.
Hang on a minute, I got some stuff going on. What's going on with this? Hang on a minute. Sorry. I don't know what the hell that was. So Grimes' graves, what you want to, he said it was very disappointing.
It was a bit disappointing, yeah.
No, I don't.
The way that I think it's English heritage. And
no,
they could have made more of a thing of it to encourage more people to go.
To go. Well, when Roger went with me, we had a little bit of a trip there. It was a good trip, that wasn't it, Rog?
very interesting, totally new, and I learned a lot.
And you learnt a lot because it was me and Rog just went on a trip alone. There was no one else went.
That's right.
We left everyone else behind, didn't we, Rog?
That's it. Forget it. Except John. John.
Oh, John went. That was a really interesting trip. I got to be honest with you, that Rog.
Was. They all are though, but that was particularly new to me because of understanding a lot about Flint and everything else and what they did, how they did it. Perhaps this guy meant he should have been building a bit of a museum there or something.
Yeah, I think he thought the facilities were disappointing.
We went down below so you could see it straight on. And you think, well, that's it.
Yeah. But it was saying, I think at Sutton Hoo, they went to, they could have had a look at the Staffordshire Hoard, but you had to pay an extra £10 if you wanted to see that.
Ah, right.
Yeah.
Guess who else has joined us?
Ansi.
All right.
Annie, come on, Annie, tell us more. What have you been up to?
I'm coming.
Well, come on, hurry up. We've got to get on with the lecture.
Oh.
We can't be waiting all day for you. Now, come on, tell us your news.
I'm just very sorry I'm late. I've just had a visitor, just got my visitor out of the house, just finishing off tea, and I've just managed to get here. So I'm all flustered now.
What you want a medal, do you, or something?
Yeah.
Right. Anyway, folks, we're going to be doing a topic that I was looking at what we've got to cover for the Mesolithic period still, and it's coming. We've got to do a Doggerland lecture next week, and probably doing Mesolithic stroke Neolithic, and then went into the Neolithic period. So, I found, as I keep saying every week, the Mesolithic period absolutely amazing, and I've really enjoyed it. So what I would like to start off with is we've got what we're doing today. I will look at the list. We're mentioning a site known as Priory Farm Cave in Pembrokeshire, which has got some fascinating things found there from the Mesolithic period. So we'll be doing that. And interestingly enough, what's that, Rog?
Priory, is it? Or
Priory, as in Priory building, Priory.
all right.
But it's also called Cat's Hole, not Cat Hole, Cat's Hole. There's Cat Hole on the Gower, if you remember, Rog. This is Cat's Hole. So it's Priory because people get confused with the one on the Gower, but there's an S in this one. But it's Priory Farm Cave, but Cat's Hole, not Cat Hole. It's in Pembrokeshire. So we'll be looking at that. And we'll be looking at some Isle of Man archaeology, which would be interesting. So a bit of West Wales, and then we got Isle of Man, and then we got West Wales again, and then we're looking at a place called Nab Head, which is another site that is in West Wales as well. So Nab Head is fascinating. I don't know why I haven't come across Nab Head at all. It's some fascinating finds there. So why am I not doing sort of all the Wales stuff first and sort of whatever, because I just wanted to make sure that we do the Isle of Man, because you know how it goes. If we just do all Wales stuff, we won't do the Isle of Man one, and we still got Jersey to do. We might chuck in Jersey in the Mesolithic period just if we've got a little bit of time. So I think the best thing to do would be to take us to the place in West Wales called Priory Farm Cave. So West Wales, I do believe we've got a location plan for it. I'm not exactly sure whether I managed to get that, but I've just reminded myself we're not sharing images yet either, are we? So let's just do that before Drina gets into a lecture for 4 hours and then says we haven't looked at any images for the past month. So I remember that lecture. So I got to be honest with you, we've looked at this image before, and we're looking at North Wales, and this sort of sets the theme for the Mesolithic period in North Wales, and you've got D-side up there, and we are sharing this on YouTube. So I've added the D-side Facebook archaeology Mesolithic page or whatever in this as well. So if there's anyone from that, and you can get an idea there that we've got lots of Mesolithic sites on the east part of Wales, but on the west part of Wales, 4 and 5, these areas here is the West Wales coastline. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to just the site that I would like us to look at, and that on the left hand side, that is a building at Ronard's Way. Forget the North America bit. Ronard's Way in on the Isle of Man, right? So that's where we're going to be going. And this is the site that we're going to be looking at, Priory Cave in West Wales. And so it's you can get an idea that there's lots of stuff being found there. And there you go. There's a little image there. That's a rather interesting one. And this Priory Farm Cave in West Wales is quite famous. I've never heard of it before. So I thought sometimes it's always good to go into a space, a place that, that's new to me. And that we're all learning something. There it is. So obviously the illustration that we've just seen can't be right, because this itself there would be a lot more of a cave, and there's probably a lot of a collapse since the Mesolithic period. But interesting enough, we are looking at evidence of a cave that's got lots of prehistoric evidence to be found in, not just Mesolithic, but other periods as well. And I think that's equally fascinating, because one of the things that we do say about the Mesolithic period is that most people are not living in caves. Well, there's a problem with that statement in itself. Were people ever in mass numbers living in caves? The answer's probably no. But there's evidence in caves of burial and activity, and one or two bits of people living there, and so on. So caves, just like the wide outside, is the evidence that we seek for activity for different periods in time. And yes, different periods in time is basically what we should be thinking about. And I've actually, interesting enough, I didn't know this, but I probably what I'd like to do is show you the exact location of this. So sorry, this is a bit dipsy, but if I type in this, that there's a link here that you can get an idea where Priory Farm Cave is. And sometimes it's very useful to work out where places are. And I'm sure we'd all agree. So if I can just put that in there, I wasn't going to do this, but I thought that I had an image up here. So there we go, Priory Farm Cave location. So we do that go. And if we go down there, and if we type in here, this is a lovely little link. And accept the cookies. And if we go down there, and there's a little plan there. So if we go there, that gives you an idea where it is in West Wales. And we go there, and that gives you an idea in regards to the whole country. And whilst we're looking at that, and we'll go back to the other image in a moment, whilst we're looking at that, the important thing must be said that we've got quite a lot of Mesolithic evidence from across the whole of Britain now, from the east to the west coast, to the north to the south, south to the north, Boulder Cliff, and we go to Orkney, Shetland. We go to the east coast where we've got Haysborough, no, not Haysborough, Hoyk, and near in there we got Starcar. And then we go all the way over to, if we want to think of the West Coast, Ireland, because there's a bit of a land bridge still there. So if you want to think about that. So if we go back to the other image that we had, and we just go to there, that's a nice one. Let's get all cozy in that cave. And the way I'm probably doing this today is probably not as excitable as usual, simply because I've been out in the howling winds trying to do some work on the house. So I'm a little bit more calmer because I've had a lot of shocks today with wood flying around and all sorts of things. So anyway, nice to be safely in a cave, I say. So the monument consists of this monument itself. The monument is the cave and just immediate evidence outside it. So the description of this via this wonderful thing that says ancient monuments record, and the entry is mainly via Cadw. So the monument itself has got evidence from our Mesolithic period, but also, big drum roll, from the Paleolithic period as well. And the evidence in the cave not only goes through into the prehistoric periods, like the Bronze Age, but also goes into the early medieval period, into about 800 years AD, and actually a bit closer to us in time. So, as I tried to, in my introductory say about the uses of these caves, I mentioned burial, I mentioned a little bit of occupation, but people use caves throughout time and different periods for their rubbish, storage, temporary shelter, which is slightly different from permanent occupation, and industrial activities as well. So you could say that caves themselves give a high umbrella to uses over time. So Pyreek Farm Cave is located overlooking a river, the Pembroke River, and it's at the base of a low cliff on the valley side. So this is very similar to other sites for Mesolithic activity. The River Shannon, if you remember, in Ireland. And we think about Lake Flixton, where Starcar is, all associated with water. And obviously sites such as Formby, which overlooks the landscape over to Ireland and the land bridge, depending which school of thought you go with there. And that's sort of alongside that sort of great sort of watery mass that was sort of enclosed between mainland Britain and Ireland at one stage. So you've got these sort of localities associated with water, and I will say that I mentioned Formby there, the Mesolithic site, and that's been in the news the past few days. And they basically talking about how amazing it was to find footprints there, and we've already done it in a class. So how topical are we? We're basically on the edge. So the entrance to the cave, there you go, 6 meters wide, and it actually goes into the rock. That's not just what you see. It goes into the rock for 30 meters. So you can understand that a lot of activity has been undertaken here over time. And when you think about refuge and other rubbish being dumped in a cave like this, you can start to think that the activity of dumping material in caves is very much what's allowing us to find the archaeology preserved to the extent that it's preserved it. So if we read a little bit more, let's just see what we've got. So again, we haven't mentioned much about rubbish and refuge being dumped in caves. That's sort of not new, but something we don't mention a lot of. So we mentioned burial and occupation. Don't mention storage either. But these words: occupation, storage, burial, refuge, temporary shelter. That's giving you an idea of use over a long period of time. It's a scheduled protected ancient monument, like most of these sites. Can I just explain a little bit more about that? Which we don't usually mention this. We we talk about treasure trove and things like that, we probably understand what that is. If you basically find gold, which is over 200 years old, it's treasure trove, and anything that contains X amounts of metals and so on. There's different rules there. But one thing that we don't talk about is protected archaeological sites. Now, if it's a Paleolithic site, it's automatically protected. It's you know, Paleolithic sites are very rare, or well, much rarer if you want to compare them with medieval sites. So every Paleolithic site in Britain is protected. I would say most of Mesolithic sites are protected as well. When you get into Neolithic sites, there's a few that ain't protected. Bronze and Iron Age, there's a few of them that ain't protected. Not all Roman sites are scheduled ancient monuments. And by the time you get into the medieval period, there's quite a lot of medieval sites that are not protected scheduled ancient monuments. And that's basically because of the way it is to look at uniqueness. If something's unique, i.e. a Mesolithic site, then it's going to be protected. Equally the same as most Neolithic sites as well. And definitely all Paleolithic sites are protected in Britain, scheduled. If usually a medieval site is either scheduled or listed. Some churches, medieval churches, are just listed and not scheduled ancient monuments because we've got lots of churches around. In Wales, for example, we used to have 5,000 chapels and churches. Well, most of them weren't scheduled, and most of them, you know, were either listed or have since been sold or whatever. So, you know, that's basically what schedule and listing can be for any upstanding building. You can actually get, I do believe you can get Roman structures listed as well as scheduled. Anyway, I just wanted to chat down there at a little bit of a detour. I got a bit distracted there. Andy contacted me. He said he's on a call out. Right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to interrupt this a moment. I'm going to text when online. So Andy's on a call out. So it sounds a bit serious.
Yes.
He hasn't been on a call out for a while, has he?
I heard there was a child went missing and they've just found her. The police were all over the place.
Is she alive?
Yes, they found her. They think, oh, she's been taken to hospital, but that was the news I just heard.
Oh, right. We don't need to worry then. That's good. The good little girls, they found it. That's
I presume that's what he's on because there's been...
Yeah. He's basically on clear-up duty, he would be now. So anyway, thanks for that. Anyway, so cracking on. So what we've got excavations, unfortunately, in this cave in the early 1900s. And the problem is that when they excavated early 1900s, they didn't realize that the evidence that they had was actually Paleolithic and actually Mesolithic. So this was only discovered in 1933, and I like sometimes to work through processes. So it was only, even though they'd worked there, they hadn't realized that what they were looking at was a lot older than they thought. So the assemblage also included what they had found was, by the time they had worked it all out, they had got Mesolithic evidence, Bronze Age evidence, and human remains found there from the Mesolithic period, and other animal remains. So that's really interesting, other animal remains. And I've got a little bit more information about that as well. So we don't, as I said, we haven't really done as much in regards to animals when we've been looking in the Mesolithic world. And I did mention that when we were looking at the Paleolithic world, that we need to look at animals a little bit more. And we'll probably see that a little bit more in the Neolithic period, because in many ways, archaeologists have made more of Neolithic associations with animals than we see in the Mesolithic period. The one is the tomb of the eagles on the island of South Ronaldsay on Orkney, where we've got all these eagle talons and things like that. And on Orkney, for example, in the Neolithic period, we've got the tomb of the dogs and all sorts of things. Anyway, I've totally gone off on a tangent. digressed. So the faunal assemblage is thought to have predated the human occupation. So that's interesting. What's all that about? Well, we do see that, don't we, in regards to the Paleolithic world, where we've come across the hyena den. We've got a hyena den in Brixham, and we've got hyena den on the Gower from the Paleolithic period. So, you know, I think it's interesting. We need to look at animals a little bit more, to be honest. It would explain lots of things as well if we looked at animals, if we're finding the remains of bears and so on, and seeing when they became extinct. Further work in 1999 discovered evidence of flint processing. Nice. Oh, and a Bronze Age shell midden. Oh, interesting. That's interesting. Why is that interesting? Well, we've said a lot about the limpet mounds in regards to the Mesolithic period, and I've said, you know, that it's something that we find a lot of in the Mesolithic period, and it's probably because that's one of the bits of major evidence overall. But I didn't discount the fact that you do get evidence of limpet mounds in other periods in time, and shell midden. It's not being very specific there. So shells are a staple food throughout lots of periods, including the medieval period when things get really bad in the 1320s and so on. So it's of national importance, this cave. It enhances our knowledge of settlement, ritual, and funerary practice. Interesting. And also, this is another point about scheduling which I need to mention. I'll mention this first, though. It retains significant archaeological potential with a strong probability of the presence of associated archaeological features and deposits intact, untouched. That's why you protect it. So the scheduled area comprises the remains described and areas around them within which related evidence may be expected to survive. So two things about scheduled ancient monuments, protected ancient monuments. The first thing is, if you've got a scheduled ancient monument, you don't just protect the thing that's there, right? So you're not just protecting the cave, you're protecting an area outside the cave as well that might be associated with the cave. So it might be 10, 15 meters outside the cave is also protected, scheduled. You can't metal detect, you can't do anything with it, right? And the penalties for metal detecting associated with scheduled ancient monuments, they have been imprisoning people over recent years. So that's been a change in the law. So people do get punished, and it is reason to have sites scheduled. The other point I'd like to mention is there's a ball being kicked around in archaeology now. If an archaeological site's been excavated, does it warrant being protected anymore? Because you're not protecting anything, because the ground's already been dug and we know all about it. The problem is, when you think like that, then Stonehenge shouldn't be a scheduled protected ancient monument. So that's the problem when you go down that sort of rabbit warren or rabbit hole. Excuse the pun there, looking at a cave. So what I'd like to do is, if I can just move back a little bit, and probably think that we've got other evidence. And if we sort of go there, and this is that 30-meter cave. So there it goes. There it goes. So you go, what they're saying is, this is rather interesting. This is an old pan. Is this from the 1933? I think this is about right, 1930s, or maybe earlier. So what are we looking at? We're looking at the mouth there on the left. Very interesting. And this is rather interesting to all of us, actually, because if we look at the numbers, right, and we see number one, the top layer, it's got surface earth, bones of birds and small mammals like rats and things. So if we go at 2 from the mouth all the way through, it's getting a bit blurred there. Loose gravel. It's saying Bronze Age remains, middens, ox, horse, and reindeer. That's really interesting that we've got that really great mix of evidence in number 2. And it's basically saying at number 3, there we go. Obviously, we don't really know what's going on at the back of the cave. This is why the whole cave's scheduled, going all the way 30 meters. It might actually be longer. So if we look at number 3 there, gravel, flints being found. So that's your Mesolithic earlier evidence. And very interestingly enough, if we go to we'll go to that little description there, all that little stuff there. We'll look at that in a moment. If we go to number 4, this is what it was talking about. Number 4, it was talking about it. Number 4 is number 4 the remains of, is it non-influenced animal remains, i.e. they're not butchered and they've ended up there somehow. Well, would a horse be in a cave like this? Or would the remains be dragged in by hyena, wolf, and bear? Is it the bones there because the bear, the hyena, and the wolf fed upon horse, reindeer, and ox? Ox, let's replace that ox with the word auroch, because the ox, if it's in a Paleolithic context, would just be an auroch. So there we go. And if we go back, I love this, the way this is set out. It's really useful. Modern wall, that's going to be there to give a little bit more protection for the archaeology further in. I do believe that's why there. I'm not exactly sure. There might be a grid on there with a lock on it. I think. Hyena den. Well, if you look B there and you go down to number 4, that would be very similar to the hyena dens that we actually find at Brixham on the south coast and on the Gower, the hyena den on the Gower. So we've got a bit of human skull. We can show you an image of the human skull. Human skull found there towards the mouth. D is talking about bronzes. I think that must be Bronze Age artifacts. This is my translation of this. E, you've got middens towards the front of the cave. E there. Main deposit of bones. G, well, we've established you've got a few G's. You've got a G beyond the wall there. G. You've got another G, and stalagmite layer H. Right, so stalagmite layer. So that's sort of giving you an idea of sort of when you've reached the stalagmite layer, do you go below that? Is there going to be human evidence, that type of thing? So that's been really useful. Let's have a little look at this skull. Well, the skull is on there. That's a nice little one, isn't it? So we're getting a little bit deeper in there. And it sort of shows that sort of plan there of its extent. There we go, some human mandibles, and there on the right we've got a bit of a skull there. So if we go click on this one, this is a useful one. Are we going to see any more, or is that the same one? I think that those are the Bronze Age bronze artifacts. This is what I've been talking about. The Bronze Age artifacts. Very interesting what we've got there at the top. Again, a mixture of dates. Again, we've got a skull, and it's sort of lots of little bits of evidence here. Go back there. So this is the mandible, and one tooth obviously come out there. A bit more of the skull there, and these as well. So a few bits of jawbone there, a few bits of mandible, lots of teeth missing. But it's obviously that's going to happen with this type of archaeology. One thing I would say is two things. Is that if this hadn't been discovered, as you know, if we hadn't have discovered that this was Mesolithic or Paleolithic evidence, maybe the cave would not have been scheduled and protected, and may maybe people would have gone there since, and we would have just lost, and the archaeology would have been destroyed. So I've actually found that today absolutely fascinating, but there is a little bit more. There is a little bit more. So I'm going to. I've got a nice little bit of blurb here, and I'm just going to make sure that we get this in there. And it's sort of, there's a tiny little bit of blurb here, and I'm going to do this. And what in this blurb, it uses that black and white line drawing to sort of illustrate it. And I think that's what we should do. And maybe I would like to go on to, before we do that, those objects there. So yeah, confirm that these are the Bronze Age artifacts, and that's actually a Bronze Age saw.
Yeah, amazing.
But I got to be honest with you, Rog, right? I got to be honest with you, Rog. I've been cutting through wood for months, right? And this is with a stainless steel saw, Rog. And they do go blunt. And Roger, I don't think I could get through anything with that. But obviously, what are they cutting with it? That's the question. And what we've got a Bronze Age palstave, which is an axe, and that's a chisel there, the one in the middle, and it's defining this. It's defining that as obviously that's some kind of bracelet. It sort of describes this saw with ring, whatever that means. So what I'd like to do is, if I can go, that's obviously much later, so that's out of our remit. But if we want to do this here, this illustrates this little bit about cat hole, which I'm going to do. So what we've got a detailed description of the finds that were discovered at the beginning of the 1900s by a chap by two guys called Style and Dixon. And these were written up by W.F. Grimes, who's actually quite a famous individual in regards to prehistory back in the 1933 with a chap by the name of Cowley. And they published in this in Archaeologia Cambrensis in 1933. And I do believe we might actually have a copy of the original report. They reported that a mixture of human and animal bones were found. These included an almost complete skull, several portions of lower jaw bones, pieces of limb bones, ribs, and vertebra, as well as animal bones of a mix of species. And we mentioned the hyena, bear, reindeer, red deer, wolf, horse, ox, and some other remains of animals: sheep, goat, fox, hare, and the remains of mammoth also being found. So it basically says that the important finds include fine sets of flints and, of great national importance, the set of Bronze Age implements consists of the chisel, as we know, the Bronze Age palstave, bronze saw with ring. This is the only bronze saw ever found in Britain. And these are actually on display in the, they were on display at the National Museum of Wales. I don't know where they are now because everything's changed. But I think that's a really interesting reconstruction, but it's completely wrong. And the reason why that's completely wrong is that the mouth of that cave is a hell of a lot bigger than that. And back in the day, that would be a lot more further out. But again, I liked what we did there with that site. So now what we're going to do, I don't know where Andy is, but what I'm just gonna go off the screen a minute, and I'm just gonna see if he's lingering in the background there somewhere. So what I'm going to do is, if I can try and Margaret, you can look out for Andy for me, can't you? Margaret's muted, so what I'm going to do with Margaret is I'm going to make her look out for Andy. Sorry, Margaret, you got no control over that one. Good. What happened to Claire? Don't know what happened to our Claire. Right, okay, let's do. We're going to move now nicely on to the Isle of Man. So if we do that there, and it's sort of lots of different things in regards to the Isle of Man. And that person there looks like me. Anyway, so it did, didn't it? Did it, Rog?
Yeah, I thought that. Without that beard, too much beard.
Yeah, well, I haven't always had a beard, Rog.
I know. I like beards.
Yeah.
Anyway, meanwhile, it does look like you. George, not you.
That's a woman.
Oh, shut up, you. Right, let's just move on.
That's like Carlin.
Right, okay, guys, shut up. Look at that. Hazelnut shells. And look at these wonderful objects here. So what we're going to do, we're going to look at the Isle of Man. So Isle of Man in the Mesolithic period. So let's just get on with it. So there we go. Rog, shut up.
Okay.
Rog, do you know what, Rog? I've got no interest in anything you've got to say, right? So you just may as well just not say anything, okay? Right. It's difficult to upset Roger. Right, so here we go. Let's give some taglines to what we're looking at. We all know where the Isle of Man is, so we don't need to, remember that. Oh, by the way, Roger's just disappeared. Right.
Who?
Right. So what we've got is evidence in the Mesolithic period on the Isle of Man going back to at least 10,000 years ago. Now, the words to be used when looking at the Isle of Man archaeology is the Mesolithic period is the first time in a history when people actually leave traces of their existence. And so we had this problem when we looked at Ireland, didn't we? There were statements like, oh, the earliest people in Ireland only date back to 9,000 years ago. Then you get people saying, oh, actually, we've got evidence going back to 33,000 years ago. But people who leave significant evidence, this is in the Mesolithic period. The island, it's talking about, now this is an interesting point, 10,000 years ago, the island was now separated from the English and Scottish coast, and small family groups lived there. Now, I'm not going to argue with that. It probably was disconnected by that time. The climate was warmer than that of today. Now, that's a statement that we don't hear about. The climate was warmer than that of today. And when people talk about climate and global warming and all the rest of it, it was warmer in human existence. And I've said this before, back thousands of years ago than it is today. Now, what we've got, it's said that the Isle of Man is a dense wooded landscape, which they've got evidence of deer, wild boar, and other smaller animals. Mesolithic people were obviously, there's evidence of fish and maritime fishing, and obviously lots of natural resources for everything that they need. Now, there is a site here which has got some great illustrations, which I wasn't going to show you because I thought, oh God, do I do this? So what I'm going to do, I'm going to type this one in now. We're just going to go slightly off key. I wasn't going to do this, but I thought, right, I've just suddenly realized that the illustrations here are a lot better than the ones I've got. So, so if we type in this Mesolithic Isle of Man. Is it raining where you are, guys?
No.
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 And you haven't had high winds either?
No.
No, not really.
Well, it's coming this way, Rog. You'll have it next.
It's been raining all day.
Yes, it has,
Yeah.
but not too windy.
No.
What are you doing, Rog?
No.
The Manx Mesolithic.
Open.
Open.
Hang on, I don't know what's happened here. Oh no! Do you know we've had this problem before that I've got I've got stuff that I can see on my computer that I can't see on this one. Blow it.
Yeah.
Maybe what I could. Right. Okay. Maybe what I could do is actually screen to screen. So if I show you some of these images quick, and these are actually quite some strange objects, which I can show screen to screen. Right. So if I just read this out from here, so I'm just going to go off a minute. And if I could just stop the share.
Sure.
By the way, I did tell you that I might have that role as Jesus Christ.
Looks like,
Can you see that there? Those core objects there. Oh, hang on.
No.
And
Oh, there. Yes. Yeah.
So we're talking about these core objects, flint cores, and this is one of the strangest. This is one of the strangest blades that I've ever seen at a Mesolithic site, which could be termed as more of an arrowhead or a spear, right? But look at the shape of that. Very odd shape, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Very odd. And obviously, we're talking about these types of objects being mounted. You can see that. Hang on.
No, too much reflection.
Yeah.
Hang on a minute. If there is a doodah on this thingamajig. So if I do that, right? If I do that, Rog. Oh my God! Look at that!
Yeah.
Oh wow! It works.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And if we go back to that one again, there.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Perhaps it was.
That is a very strange shape, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, you could hold on to the bit at the top, couldn't you?
Hmm.
And then cut. Hold on to the top bit and then cut.
What?
Well, we're used to having cuts, aren't we, in this economy?
Yeah.
Right. So anyway, I wanted to show you them. So what we're going to do, we're going to do a bit of screen sharing again. So we'll go back to those other ones. Go back to the Isle of Man, and we'll do that. Oh, there we go again. So you can imagine there's lots of odd shapes and sizes of these objects.
Yeah.
So it goes on to say then. So if I can get that back there, right. So what we're talking about, the flint cores, that earlier one. So obviously we're getting chert and flint being used. So the one you just saw was a chert. These are mainly the ones on the right are flint, but I think the reddish one's a bit of chert, and so is that one as well, the weird shaped one.
What are these set in, Carl, with that green outline? Like cups or something?
What's that, Rod?
You got these in three, looks like bowls or something. Green outline.
Oh right, no, it's just the way they've done the photographs, Rog.
Oh right, because it's so.
Right, anyway, flint occurs naturally on the Isle of Man, and so does chert. And you will find flint pebbles on beaches in the north of the island. And they're basically saying that lots of chert and flint around because as the retreating glacier 30,000 years ago left a lot of material behind and therefore has been washed up on the coast. So these flakes could then be reworked with deer antler tools into arrows, and you've got heavier blades and all the other tools being used for different purposes. So you're talking about some of these here, some of those can be mounted. And obviously the flint technology and the chert technology. And you do find lots of evidence like this across the Mesolithic sites within the Isle of Wight, but you've seen the odd one earlier on. So it gives you an idea of how they sort of developed. And if we think of the typical Mesolithic microlith, right, here's some of the smaller ones. Hang on. So lots of these are actually chert, but the much smaller ones could be classed as microliths. And these are obviously going to be mounted to create harpoons and spears, and various other purposes. And they have been extensively found across the landscape of the Isle of Man. So if we sort of go back again and we think of this, they've actually found a building, and this is where we're going to go to next. So this is known as a Mesolithic Pit House on the Isle of Man, and what we've got is it's basically being created alongside where the airport is, and amazing. I find this sort of, you know, staggering that we don't really make much of the Mesolithic archaeology in Ireland, and we don't make much of the Mesolithic archaeology throughout the rest of Wales, and the Isle of Man in all my lectures has been completely missing. And how dare I? But we're rectifying that now. So there's that building there. So if we want to go
they call
back
that a yit house or something.
Well, Rog?
A yit house, something, what is?
No, I haven't heard of a pit house.
Ah, all right.
A Mesolithic pit house at Ronald's Way Airport. This would have been a substantial building. Now, right, you bring out these facts and figures. A substantial building comprising a subcircular hollow, and the diameter, wait for it, is 7 meters in diameter,
right,
which is 2 meters, which is 2 meters more than the diameter of my building, which I've built here, which is quite big. 5 meters is actually quite big. It's the you know, it is, yeah, actually 5.5 meters, but this is 7 meters in diameter, containing a ring of posts. You can clearly see the ring of posts around the outside.
yes,
Right, and an external redeposited gravel platform. So you can't really see that, but there's a gravel platform opposite the entranceway, and they're talking about the radiocarbon dating indicates that the house dates, listen to this, right, dates back to 10,200 years ago.
Cool.
So when we started off earlier on, we've added 200 years onto the date of people in the Mesolithic period on the Isle of Man. So before we go any further with that point, the very point, this is the point I made with Ireland, if you're getting evidence of buildings like this, substantial buildings on the Isle of Man over 10,000 years ago, they must have been building smaller buildings on the Isle of Man earlier than that. Does that make logical sense? It does to me.
yeah.
So what we've got is that what we've got, there's 2 points here. This excavation was being done in the 1980s, and that's really good. That's a really good clear image, even from this angle. Really good. Oh, and the other thing as well is the reason why you've got these like a cross is that you read the layers. That allows you to understand the depths and the understanding of the layers as you excavate. So this is known as the box square excavation method, where you leave these whilst you're excavating to sort of read the layers as you go down. It always helps out. Now, the other point that I just made is that this is 1,000 years earlier than most things in the Mesolithic period on the Isle of Man. 1,000 years earlier. So that's absolutely amazing. So I've got a little bit of gubbins here that I want to read out in full, and then we'll have a break. So there's one major point to be made in a moment, which really is very similar to most other Mesolithic sites. So the post-excavation analysis, they've been looking at it, and it's been extremely encouraging with what they found. And the house, they studied 100% of it. So when they had excavated all these areas, they took these other bits out, right? So they analysed all of it, every single bit of detail with the site, because it was that important. And also, well, we couldn't really leave it there because there was an airport going in. So that's a good point. Now, but yeah, I want to chuck something else in there. Sorry, I've gone off on another tangent. At the same time, whilst they were working on Shetland, there was no archaeologist working. So anything like this which was found on Shetland was simply destroyed. In the 1970s and 80s, they didn't have archaeologists on Shetland because they got in the way of development. So they just destroyed anything in their path. So when you think about it, we could have lost a lot in Shetland, but we didn't lose it on the Isle of Man because there were archaeologists working. So we were able to study it. I want to do a bit of yin and yang there. That's very relevant because we don't have much evidence of these periods in Shetland. And the answer is, at the same time, whilst the airport was being built on Shetland, we've got reports of them just simply ploughing through Neolithic buildings and Viking buildings and leveling them and pushing them into the water, right, to make progress. And this was in the 1980s. But there's similar projects on the Isle of Man. It was a complete excavation, 100% recording. So when you don't get archaeological sites being recorded and reported in Britain, it's simply because they were never reported on in the first place. So we get a disbalanced proportion of archaeology across the board. Needed to make that point. So what we've got is it contained large numbers of flaked lithics and coarse stone tools, as well as a rich assemblage of charred plant remains, including the probable remains of a hazelwood floor. Right, okay. Right. The reason why I say hey, right, I'm going to say it right. Hey, right. Now, the reason why I've said that, it reminds me of two things. Two things, my friends. When we look at Boulder Cliff, and when we look at Star Car, we clearly see that there's evidence of timber floors. In both situations, timber floors 10,000 years ago. The similar evidence is here. That's what all the burnt stuff is there and all the decayed stuff. Timber floors, yeah? Now, the point to be made there is that whenever people talk about Iron Age and Bronze Age reconstructions, they always say, oh, yeah, well, here we go, Rod, let's have this one. Rod, don't they, Rod? They always say, oh, it was an earthen floor. That's what they say, isn't it, Rog?
Yeah, right.
It's an earthen floor. Well, I got to be honest with you, Rog. Isn't it better to have a timber floor or some kind of than it is to have an earthen floor? And I say yes. So if the point is, Roger, right? This is two-pronged, and you were there when we went to oh God, what's the name of it? That site in Norfolk, Westow. When we went to the Westow site, yeah, remember, Rog? The Gruberhausens basically a scoop out the ground, and they would put boards across it, right? So it'd be like a suspended floor. Well, they did that in the Anglo-Saxon period. They did that in the Mesolithic period. So why didn't they do it in all the other periods in history? So I think we're missing. I think we're missing a trick. So I'm going to be critical. When we go to places that have got reconstructed buildings from the Iron Age and the Bronze Age, I think they should reconstruct them with timber floors. I think we're getting the reconstructions wrong in the Iron Age and the Bronze Age. Thank you very much. Because if they're getting them in,
Carl.
What's going on, Rog? Give it to me.
On the right side, it looks like a curved path. It goes under the right side there with the pole. It passes under the right hand there. Looks like a path or something. Or
Yeah, that's
run.
what it did say that at the beginning, Rog. We mentioned. Yeah, no, Roger, it did say that. It said that on a redeposited gravel. It says an internal redeposited gravel platform opposite a north-facing entrance. So that's what it said. Yeah, it's difficult to work out where all that is, Roger, but you are
I
right.
trying to get an angle on the thing because I thought, I wonder what that cross was made of. It's just the earth left to see the level.
Yeah. It's very interesting. This is very, very, very interesting, Roger.
Telling me you've got holes round for like a periphery, and then you've got some holes in the middle. It's a bit like a marquee now. You've got the walls and then something in the end to keep the thing up in the centre. Roger, this is exactly what I've done with my building. Yeah. For the beams, yeah.
Yeah, I've just finished I've just finished my central plinths, which are quite sort of intricate, and I've got my external thingamajig, and it's there's a complete floor, there's beams and there's a complete floor in it, and basically I've started putting some of the roof timbers in, but unfortunately, Rog, winter's arrived, so I'm having to do it slowly. Anyway, let's just carry on. We were supposed to be having a break, but we're just. I want to do this one. I wanted to do this because I've got to do this. Got to. There's lots to be said. So finds were surveyed in 3 dimensions, and they've got. Listen to this. They found. Can you add him in, Margaret?
Oh,
Andy.
Oh, what?
Andy just joined us. Margaret, bring Andy in.
I just have.
Well, you should have said, Margaret.
He's there.
Oh,
where is he?
It's below you on my screen.
Well, I don't want him to. Oh, that's just seedy. Right. Andy, you've just missed it.
Now.
Look, I'm supposed to be doing a lecture now. Shut up. We're in the middle of this. Andy, what I would say, you've missed an amazing site in West Wales, so you're going to have to look it back on a pre-record, okay?
Oh, okay, right.
I know it's not your fault, but we understand it was something to do with the child being found. Is that correct?
Yep, that's right. We had a missing 12-year-old. Yeah.
Oh, well done. Good.
But you found her, so that's the main thing.
Safe and well. Yeah, that's good.
Oh, go on, give us an idea. I don't know if you can, but was she found in an obvious place or not?
She found at the railway station, but no, actually, I can't tell you, and you mustn't repeat any of that. And if it's being recorded, no, I can't tell you. Sorry.
So, no, you don't need to tell me. No.
Safe and well. Yeah.
Right. Okay. We don't need to know anymore. Thank you very much. Right. Okay. Anyway, well done, Andy. Finds were surveyed in 3 dimensions. So basically, they've gone overboard. 100% sample, everything looked at. 14,000 struck flints being recovered this way. 14,000. They looked at everything. 14,000 struck flints. Again, that's a lot of flints for one site. Now, I'm going to say that again, 14,000, because we're thinking, hang on a minute, Carl. There's a lot of stuff being found associated with the Mesolithic period, isn't there? And this is just one site. Yeah, it is. When environmental samples were floated, when they looked at everything, when they looked at every single piece of earth, right? Not only did they find 14,000, they found another 8,000 flints. So altogether across the site, they found in total 22,000 flints at this one location. That's quite a lot, isn't it? So also they found the remains of 10,000 hazelnut fragments. 10,000. May I say that again? 10,000 hazelnut fragments. And that is what we're looking at there, the hazelnut fragments. So it appears that the remains were fossilized in situ when the house burnt down. So analysis should permit the spatial dynamics of the building to be understood. In other words, how it was lived in. Now, charcoal assemblages were looked at, and they were able to understand that there was a widespread of evidence of different tree across the site. So what they found out is that the wood either used for flooring or used for other purposes or for use for the building included hazel, apple, white beam, and hawthorn woods. That's quite a nice mixture of your, I would say, your first level of trees, because obviously your next level and your third level are going to be your ashes and then your oaks. So this is a good representation of trees being found at one single site on the Isle of Man. Again, we're only talking about one site now, but this for me is telling us that there is such a diverse understanding or lack of understanding of the Mesolithic period. There's so much out there. They're thinking that maybe the house was of that right. There's one point to be made by that, right? If you've spotted it. Hazel, apple, white beam, hawthorn wood. Where's the heavy timber? Now, they think that this was of more simpler construction with a roof. Maybe it actually carried quite a flimsy roof, having a skin covering. But I'm gonna tell you something now, right? The building that I've been building here, we did have, because it's now being shredded by the wind. We did have a heavy duty tarpaulin on it, right? And when it's been exposed to wind, it started to sort of fail, right? And I'm thinking, well, hang on a minute, surely tarpaulin is stronger than animal skin. And you're thinking, well, if you've got a roof with animal skin, it's not going to last long. So all those different questions. So it is possible for hazel and these white beams to maybe carry something else, but whatever was used as roofing, we'll never know. Existing pollen records from the Isle of Man suggest that very few oak trees would have been present at the time when the house was occupied. Vis-a-vis, that's maybe an answer why we don't find much on site. However, some oak charcoal was present. What was that seen to be used for? Was it part of the overall building matrix, or what was that for? Was it just collected? But this was concentrated towards the center of the building. So let's get back to that plan again. So that's concentrated towards the middle of the building. And what we've got is that the whole sort of understanding of the site is that we've got hearths possibly in the center of the building, and we've obviously got we've got other evidence of pits, lots of evidence of where the stone tools were being worked and the hazelnuts. You've got various densely concentrated locations in the middle of the building. What we've got hammerstones. We've got there's also evidence of willow and poplar charcoal. Willow and poplar charcoal, and this might be evidence of baskets. So these baskets would have gone up in flames, and they're saying, willow and poplar being seen to be the evidence for baskets. Other concentrations of hazelnuts occurring by the doorway. This is sort of evidence near the doorway of some kind of storage compartment within the building. So you've got all that happening. So the flints were much more frequent than we could ever think of And it's obviously evidence that they had some napping activities within the building, maybe in the winter months. There were also other marked differences in the distribution of flints across the site. And the sharp flints do not seem to have been cleaned out and do not seem to have been a problem, presumably. Now, this is a good point. This is a good point. If we want to reread that. We mentioned earlier on about a floor being made up of a hazel floor, right? Read this. The sharp flints do not seem to have been cleaned out and do not seem to have been a problem. So you've got bits of flint everywhere. And surely if you're wandering across this, with bare feet, as you might want to be comfortable at night, instead of wearing shoes or something on your feet, they're not being embedded in your feet and causing problems. And they do believe that this is because the flint fragments fell through the gaps in the hazel floor. So in other words, it was a suspended floor. And obviously when the building started to decay or satellite or whatever, it all congregated in this pit. So I think that's absolutely amazing. Just a little bit more. So what we do find is these forms of lithics, which we're going to actually show you, explain what these lithics are now. So what we've got in that sort of very interesting one there. Right, so these triangular ones, these are actually small microliths. These are actually really the ones on the right. And obviously the very unusual types of, so the ones on the right are going to be flint. The ones on the left are going to be chert. So they're saying, make this statement. This is true of assemblages from other similar houses dated to the same period. So those types of flints and the wide mix of flints and uses, microliths, bigger ones, and so on, are similar to other sites that have been excavated, such as Hawick. Now, it's thought. Now this is quite an interesting thing. Which I'm going to say this anyway. I'm not going to fudge this. I'm just going to say it. Clive Waddington, one of the excavators at Hawick, has suggested that this house and the buildings at Hawick may have had some connection because they got similar flints being found at both localities. It might be evidence of people moving from the Doggerland sort of westwards. And this was when they may have been realizing that the water levels were rising before life was extinguished forever 8,000 or 8,500 years ago. So the discovery of this building, which I'll give you its name, the site is known as CASS, C-A-S-S. The next word is N-Y. The next word is H-A-W-I-N. So I can't even say it. So it's obviously in Manx. So CASS, C-A-S-S, next word N-Y, next word H-A-W-I-N. Discovery of this site suggests that other such houses might one day come to light. Not just in the Isle of Man, other localities, and that this might indicate movements of people from different sites and so on across the network. But it's obviously this site, along with all the other sites that we've looked at, habitational sites, tells us that the Mesolithic period is far more diverse, far more challenging in regards to archaeology than we could ever give it credit for. So we do have some stuff about Wales after the break, and I'm going to ditch that one there. We will after the break. We're going to go to a site known as Nab Head. So Nab Head is absolutely fascinating and amazing. And again, I had never come across it before. So that's what we're going to do after the break. So are there any questions? And we'll just show you. We'll try. Where's my? I'll make sure they're all ready for after the break anyway. So if we just have our break, we'll have a 10-minute break, and I'm just going to stop that. Right. Are there any questions off anyone?
No.
Yeah.
Can I ask you about the hazelnuts?
No, you
If
can't.
you-
Right,
if-
next question.
Oh,
Right, go on.
If they had so many shells, why didn't they just put them on the fire?
They probably did.
And there's still all that number left.
Well, the thing is, when you think about it, when you think about the fact that there's all this, that there's 22,000 flints,
Yeah.
and you're thinking, well, you've got thousands of hazelnut shells, and you're thinking, well, you know, this site must have been used for an incredible period of time, because that's a lot. That's a lot.
Yeah.
These flints and cherts that are actually finding are only little bits of the evidence that were actually at the site. Because if they're going out hunting, then you're thinking, well, lots of these flints and cherts are going to be lost out there somewhere. So, you're just thinking, well, there is a lot going on. And I think this site itself is absolutely fascinating, along with all the other sites in regards to Mesolithic Isle of Man and Mesolithic Great Britain. There's a lot going on. And we got some amazing images afterwards of this Nab Head site, or the Nab Head landscape. So I've just been getting these up ready. Right. So, anything that
I just ask
go
you.
on. Oh, you can you can just keep asking questions. Just keep asking questions.
The amount of flints, are they usable bits or just rubbish?
Everything. Some of the ones that you've seen,
Yeah.
the ones you've seen, they're obviously usable. So obviously there's a mixture of all sorts of stuff there. But the one thing that we do say is that in prehistoric site buildings like this, we see evidence that that they've either been cleaned out or they haven't been. And obviously, if you've got all these little bits of flint everywhere, you're thinking, well, how were they able to survive in these buildings? The answer is because they had floor levels.
Yeah.
Do you know what, right? I'm building this thing here, right? And I've got beams, and you should see, if you went under the building with a metal detector, you'd find dozens and dozens of nails, because they just ended up falling on the floor through the beams whilst I'm putting everything together. Loads of bits of wood, tools, hammers, and all sorts of things. Somebody in the future would have a field day, right? But this is people in the past as well. They would lose things. They would just get on with things and whatever. So the evidence is basically telling us of people living and loving a site and just getting on with it. That this is what the activity is. It's a mixture of flints and everything going on. And this is the evidence that survived, because we don't have everything that survived. We don't. We've only got a small fraction of what's survived. Lots of it is gone.
Why do we assume that just because we've got the various types of timber that you mentioned, that they didn't have access to anything bigger when they don't really need anything bigger, because those are all the right size anyway? You wouldn't chop down a big
actually, Andy, when you saw the post holes, that would be big enough to support a structure with a roof.
Yeah. Why cut down a big tree when a little one will do, and it'll take you half as long to cut it down.
Right.
And also, if you use the right angles to, actually, Andy, I was reading from my text there, but correcting me on that one. I completely agree with you. Yeah, you're right. Because the structure that I'm putting up here, maybe I should show you some photographs next week. But the structure I'm putting up here, right? Conversation between me and you and me, Andy. I thought, right, how am I going to do the roof? Because winter's come now. Am I going to use heavy beams on the roof? And I thought, I don't need heavy beams on the roof.
No.
As long as I got my internal lintels and my external wall, which will support the timbers anyway, right? I've actually used half posts, long lengths of half posts. And I've been pulling on these things and thinking, right, that's good. So I'm gonna have a roof level, which is going to be a massive dust sheet, and then above that there's going to be a membrane, and then above that I've got above that I've got purlins to link all the roof beams together, and on top of that I got modern insulation, and on top of that I've got a really heavy duty membrane, and on top of that I'm actually using a huge carpet over the roof, which will be then put down and plants will grow on it.
Right.
And what I've got will take the weight.
Yeah.
And the point is, Andy, right? I'm using that from a modern perspective. They certainly
Yes.
had the ability to do it back then.
Yeah.
You know, and they did.
Those modern where they construct them were self-supporting, and they only needed like 2-inch diameter in the round because it's so much stronger. You know,
Oh yeah.
And willow is so wonderfully bendy. Apple is an interesting one. That's actually very strong apple, but
yeah, it's a solid timber. Yeah.
But the others and hawthorn, never come across that one before in building. But
we did say that they might have other uses. So
it may well, yes.
So between the posts, the main posts, where we see the post holes, they'd have used woven branches. Would it have just been any old branches?
Yeah, actually, to be honest with you,
but,
willow, you think willow that bends quite
easily. Bends beautifully.
Yeah.
But sycamore wasn't available back then, but that's another debate. But I actually went to a woodland near me, and I couldn't find any hazel. So I thought, right, I'll just use sycamore, and I made a sycamore panel.
Right.
I made a 2 meter long by 1 meter deep panel, all out of sycamore, and I thought, oh, this was all right. And then I realized the points. You can use lots of these things. Actually, you can use most timbers. You can use most. Ash is a good one. Ash is a brilliant one.
Yeah.
Both mountain ash and normal ash. In fact, if you could get long lengths of holly, I wouldn't recommend holly, but holly is one of the hardest woods out there, and you would have old holly. Lengths of old holly.
Well, this is why they coppiced, wasn't it? Because it increased growth, and it also grew quickly and long. So you got long lengths of everything. But it seems because that's where the charcoal is coming from as well, isn't it? From the willow. So.
And did the earth and clay that kind of fitted it all together, would that solidify quite nicely?
Yeah, and dry out nicely.
And dry out quite well.
Wall.
So it'd be quite
actually wattle and daub wall.
Fairly weatherproof then.
Yeah, totally.
One of the things that we do have a problem on archaeological sites is that when you're field walking, you occasionally find weird clumps of clay, either brown, grey, or whatever. And you think, well, what period of time are these bits of pottery from? And they're not pottery, they're just daub that's been heated up.
Yeah.
That's what they are.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure they had a lot of fires, as in burning down, as well as just bonfires as well. So it's
exactly.
Yeah, I believe that there was a land bridge from Cumbria to the Isle of Man. I don't know if they've ever discovered which part of Cumbria it would have.
The people from Kendal nicked it.
Yeah.
So was the Isle of Man cut off around about the same time as the East Coast was from Europe?
Interesting.
Do you know, no, it was a lot earlier. Do you know what I'm going to do on the Isle of Man is that right? One of the biggest problems with these islands, when the islands become disconnected from mainland Britain, is that it's a lot more complicated. There are other factors, i.e., the land is still sort of rising in the north and sinking in the south, those types of things. And you're talking about water levels acted differently on the east to the west coast. And you're talking about other factors of, like we mentioned that Doggerland last week was a big sort of earthen bank that has gradually got has eroded away, and it's not a big piece of rock. So you've got other factors, and just think about I got to chuck something in the mix, right, which is going to throw everything out, right? If the land bridge, right, I've never thought of this, and I'm just thinking outside the box. If the land bridge between Great Britain and Ireland was a moraine left behind by a glacier, right? You don't need to have water rising for that moraine to suddenly wash away, right? It could just erode naturally because of the current, because it's a moraine, and therefore there's going to be no trace that moraine ever existed. That there could have been those types of moraines existing between Orkney and Shetland. Slap on my wrist for saying that. One of my university lecturers, he hated me for even having a link between Orkney and Shetland. Shetland was always islands, but what I'm trying to say, if you don't get the tangible evidence to say that there were these land bridges, because they've been washed away and the evidence is gone. But there is a possibility we could trace some of that. But obviously, this is why it's so complicated.
I wonder if there's a submerged forest in the Irish Sea.
There is.
Is there?
There is.
In Matey Boy's book that we keep referring to.
The submerged forest, by who was it? What was his
Clement
name?
Reid, 1913.
Clement Reid, that's
yeah.
the one. Yeah, he talks about it. It's basically there's forest almost all around the country in various
Yes.
points.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now this is the thing. This is the thing. Andy's made the point. If say for example there's evidence of a row of trees running from mainland Britain to Ireland, right, on the seabed, right. That is to say that you didn't need a moraine. That is the land bridge. It's just got flooded.
Yeah.
So that speaks for itself. We're struggling to find that pure evidence between the two, right? We've got that evidence between Great Britain and mainland Europe that existed. There is the tree line, right? But it's the Irish thing, right? And this is why it's that bone of contention.
Am I right in saying that it's actually been argued about for a long time as to how much water there was and wasn't? There was some show lakes to the north between Scotland and Ireland, don't they? And some don't, and some show in the south. And it's
Andy, yeah, let's just not go there.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. Look, the problem is the Irish question is political, right?
Yeah.
So if we just want to make this simple, there was never a land bridge, or the land bridge was, you can trace the land bridge because of trees, and you can trace those trees from one to the other, or what I've just said, that the moraine did exist. You can have a moraine just made up of pebbles. You can have a moraine from the Cumbria coast to the likes of the Isle of Man, and suddenly with underwater currents as well as surface currents and all the other currents that are involved, that could soon be eroded away, and all that evidence of a land bridge between mainland Britain and the Isle of Man could have been completely lost.
Yeah.
Well, how did the Mesolithic people and the animals get to the Isle of Man? They must have got across on a land bridge.
Holiday.
By boat.
Yeah.
Oh, they flew there.
Well, they must have got there somehow.
Yeah, well, Lufthansa was around then, wasn't they? So, yeah.
Boats.
Couple of Junkers.
Everyone keeps underestimating boats. I'm sure they all had sophisticated boats. There's Finn, who built the Giant's Causeway. That's proof.
I've just
right, let's have a break.
I've just heard that Noah's Ark was not as we imagine it was, that it was actually round.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Have you heard that?
They built a replica of it.
Yeah.
Mount Ararat.
Yeah.
And also, my Noah's Ark is actually high ground. That's my Noah's Ark.
Yeah, why not? Yeah, sensible.
You know, a corral on the top of high ground that actually shaped by like a boat. The thing is, right? If you want to keep animals in, you've got a circular or a circular corral, right? Yeah. This is known throughout history. A circular corral, anything that is circular can keep animals in. If you have little sort of linear lines and you've got little sort of bits over here that go into a corner, and you've got weaknesses, that's how animals get out.
True.
My little bloody frigging goats, right? I don't let them out of their little compound at the bottom, because what we've got with a little compound at the bottom is 3 rows of frigging barbed wire. There's rope wrapped around them all, right? And they will not get out. But you let them get into that field, they will get in and out of anything. Right, we're supposed to be having a break. Anyone else wants to say anything? Anne or David? No?
Oh, no, thank you.
Anne, you've had your chance. Forget it. Right, okay.
Oh.
Okay, right, okay. So I'm very aware that we've done 1 hour and 39 minutes so far. Oh my God. Right, we are going to I need to take a little break. So leave it. Good.
Right.
9:08.
Ooh.
I'm not talking to you, Dreen. I've had enough.
Okay.
Oh dear. I
No
don't
worry,
know
Gina.
about. It's a shame, isn't it?
What's a shame?
People falling out. I think that's really sad.
Who's fallen out?
You telling Drina off? Didn't want to speak to. I mean, she's a very good friend of mine.
Hold a minute, I've got to defend myself. Dreena's had loads of. I'm not falling out with Dreen at all. But what I will say is Liz Truss has made more U-turns on this bloody thing that she did.
I should do another one then.
Yeah, she's done another one, yeah.
Oh, oh well. Don't matter what she does, none of them will work. Which way she's going.
All right, that's it. We don't talk politics. I'm going. I need to.
Politics. But you brought the subject up. I mean, I wouldn't have mentioned it.
You're the one who made up false stories about me and Drina falling out.
That wasn't fun. I heard you telling Drina to shut up. I mean, that sounds.
No, I was telling you to shut up.
Falling out.
No, if you know, me and Drina's love is too deep for us to fall out.
Yeah, she's lovely. I agree. I really love Drina, which is why I have to jump 30 fence. You see.
Nobody was having a go at Drina, you silly woman. Oh, I gotta love doing this nab's head, or for you, or for you, and Nag's head. Oh, there's some absolutely beautiful image. I really want to show you these now, but we're never going to get anything blooming done at this rate. Oh, it's so good. Oh my God, look at these images. It's like being in bed with an octopus.
We can't see them yet.
Right, yeah, I'm just, yeah. Well, these are right. I need look. Shut up.
Don't fall for it, Anne. He's just winding you up.
Yeah.
Don't wind it up. Right, I'm going to fall out with you now.
Oh, Drina, you better defend me.
I'm falling out with everyone. The only person I haven't upset today is David.
Dear me.
Have we
I'm
heard?
not being dragged into it.
No, dear.
Have we heard from
You shut up.
how Pete is at all?
He's still in hospital.
Right. Is he getting better, or is he?
I don't
Do we
know.
know? Okay.
He's got a urinary problem of some sort.
Oh
so,
no.
yeah. I've just started following somebody on Instagram. I think it said Graham Wolf, and he does archaeology, and a lot of it's in Orkney, and he does little videos. It's really good.
What's he called?
Graham Wolf. Do you want me to spell it?
Graham Wolf.
It's all one word. It's like an ancient name.
Oh.
GRAENWULF.
Oh, right.
And it's good. He's a junior archaeologist, apparently, or something.
And he's on Orkney.
Yes. The bits I've seen have been, anyway.
Yeah.
And he gets all togged up in real clothing. He's got, just like they used to wear. He's like, okay.
He's grooming you.
I got Peter on the phone. Hey, how are you, Pete?
Well, I had a bit of a shock, Carol. I had a hell of a fall.
Yeah.
I was in hospital for a week. I've just got back home.
Oh, good.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
That's good. Are you
Is everybody?
Are you watching us on YouTube now?
No.
Oh, right. Well, I can hear you, Pete.
You're on the phone.
Yeah, but you've got you on speaker.
Oh.
They can all hear you.
All right. Hmm.
Hi, Pete.
They all want to know. Talk to them.
Well, there's not much I can say except that I got one hell of a fall. I got one hell of a lump, which hurts like hell. And I'm catheterized.
Oh.
So, yeah, I'm not in a good place at the moment.
Oh, glad you've got home.
Yes, you must be glad to be home.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got home, but yeah.
Will you be able to join the group next week, do you think?
Hopefully next week I should be able to join you back, yeah.
Oh, well, we're looking forward to seeing you. We've missed you.
Yeah. Oh.
Apparently,
Thank you.
Sandra gave him a bollocking as well for falling over.
Good for her.
All right, then, Pete. I'll let you have a break, and I will speak to you next week.
Yes, we'll do, Carl, yeah. I'd be glad to get back to you, but...
Oh, my God, you're the only person to say that.
Am I? Oh.
Yeah.
And that's what the bum on the head has done, you see.
Yeah, I know. You don't know what the hell you're saying. But by the way, John was going to join us tonight, but Roger upset him, so he left. But mind you, Roger upsets everyone. He's an annoying bugger. Right, anyway, I'll let you go. Everyone's going to say goodbye. Go on and say goodbye to Pete.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye,
Bye,
Pete.
Pete.
Bye,
Pete.
Tragic.
Bye.
Ciao, Pete.
Bye.
We'll see you soon. Take care.
Yeah, thanks, Carl. Yeah, bye.
Cheers, Pete. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Right, I'm just going to finish my break in a sec. So you lot talk about the cricket score, and I'll be back.
Oh, come
Shut up, Rog.
Damn sick. Oh, well, good old Pete. He's all right then.
Andy, did you get Claire to get a ticket?
Yeah, she didn't, and then she just texted me today, I think, to say that she has, because she wasn't sure whether she could get the day off, because it's the weekend. She's every other weekend she's looking after a mum, and it happened to fall on one. She's looking after a mum, but she thinks she's going to be coming, and then she was going to go on her own because she was going somewhere else. Now she's talking about coming with me again, but her mum's not well, so she'll have to wait nearer the time to find out. But she's got a ticket.
Oh,
so
good.
She's definitely coming. So
Right. Drina and Anne, do you want to come with me and Philip, or do you want to go with Andy? The thing is, if it's raining, Philip won't be going, so we'll all be going with Andy. Would you rather go with Andy?
I would just be glad of a lift from whoever organises it. So rather than say I need to go with one or the other, whoever's going, who's offering me a lift, I'll be grateful to.
Okay.
right, yeah, no problem.
What should we do? Ring on Friday night or something?
Yeah. See what the weather's going to be like.
Yeah.
What's this, your trip?
It's an Archaeology Conference, the Lake District National Park Authority. It's about all the archaeology in Cumbria over the last year.
Good. Very good.
And
Are you going, David?
No, what is it?
It's on Saturday, the Archaeology Conference. It's going to be in Ambleside this year.
All right.
you might still be able to get a ticket.
Right.
Yeah, it's on next Saturday, so you'll have to be quick.
Oh, right. I'll have a look on the internet.
Yeah,
I sent you. I think I sent you the
the link.
email that I got,
Link. Yeah.
Yeah.
David. So
Was that a long time ago?
it was a while. Yeah, yeah.
Oh well, if you go, we'll see you there.
Where is it?
It's at the college in Ambleside.
Oh, yeah. What time does it start?
10 o'clock. 10
Right.
till 4.
Oh,
I was thinking of leaving about 9. Don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's only a small car park at the college.
Is it?
Yeah. There is the main car park across the road, but it'll be full of tourists possibly.
Is that a pay and display one?
Yeah.
Ooh.
expensive all day.
Going to start earlier. Make sure a car parking space.
Well, it only takes about 35, 40 minutes to get there.
Yeah. I was thinking we'd be there by about 1:45 at least.
Yeah, it should give us enough time.
Yeah.
I mean, you could park at my old house. They still let me park there, but it's right at the other end of town. So
Nah,
it's
Why do they allow you to park at your old house?
because they're nice round here.
because, yeah, yeah, they just say it's okay. Quite handy.
Brandy.
Right. Okay, let's get back onto it.
Right then.
Are we in the Isle of Man or Wales?
Or what?
I just got to have one of my funny tablets.
You what?
Right, okay. I've got to have one of my funny tablets. Right, okay, let's crack on. So the next bit we're gonna do Nag's Head. Not Margaret, but we're doing Nag's Head.
My favourite.
There was a joke there, sorry. It just
Don't be horrid.
it didn't go down well. Didn't go down well. But you know what, right? I've only had a 12-minute break.
Oh,
It feels like it's been for ages. Peter comes on. That's life. So we're going to do Nag's Head now. I did say that we would try and do Mesolithic. Oh God, Jersey.
Oh,
But we'll see how it goes. Right. Okay. Let's just crack on. So I got some beautiful images to show you. They're bloody beautiful. And what I'm going to do is hopefully get this right. And it's okay. Nab's Head. Nabs, not Nags. Nabs. Nabs. Nab's Head.
now, as a
Sure.
pitch.
Right. Yeah, I appreciate your contribution, Rog.
I thought it might be useful. You know.
Yeah, don't worry about it, Rog. It's okay.
Okay, John, Carl.
Yeah. Do you know, I right, they're good. Right, are you seeing everything now, yeah?
Yeah, except that beard.
can see your bearded face.
Now.
Ah, that's it.
What?
Now we're gonna take you to West Wales, right?
Carl, yeah.
Right. Hang on. I'm just, by the way, Marlos, right? Marlos Sands is actually where there are lots of tree stumps. Marlos Bay. Yeah, so if anyone's ever going to West Wales, Marlos Bay, that's where you need to go.
Yeah.
Shut up, Rog. Right, so the place we're going to look at now is there. We've just been to Pembroke earlier on, and there we're going to go there now. There, that's in West Wales.
Right.
Are we happy? Good.
Yeah.
Cheers, Rog. Okay, so we're going to go back to this. And there it is. Look at these beautiful, spectacular images. That's where we're looking today. So let's just set the scene. So I've got some nice blurb. So I'm going to get these up here. Oh, there it is. So so the description on Covline about this site, Nab Head, it basically is quite a nice one. It sort of goes into detail about the site, and it was excavated in the 1880s, and the finds. It gives a nice description. It's quite concise, but it gives a nice description. So that's what we're going to do. But before we do this one, so there it is, Nab Head. It's this little bit here, so you can see it's being eroded away. So we're going to lose bits there. So what we're going to do is I also have another set of images on here as well. Well, it's an image of some of the wonderful artifacts that have actually been found at the site as well. So what I'm going to do, I wasn't going to do this, but I needed to show you this image. So hopefully, if I type in here now, there we go, and we just go with the images, and hopefully it'll come up with one there. These, look at those there. They found loads of these. Have you seen anything like that? Amazing. So the site of Mesolithic beads, and guess what? Axe Factory on the west coast of Wales. Yeah, again, can we just repeat what I just said? A bead factory, okay. Axe factory, Mesolithic Ax Factory. They had axe factories in the Mesolithic period. Yes, oh righty, they did. I did think that didn't think they had axe factories until the Neolithic period, but axe factories in the Mesolithic period. Didn't we actually just see something then? There were lots of chert and flint on the Isle of Man. The amount of activity going on in the Mesolithic period is absolutely amazing. So, archaeologists have found many thousands of flint axe heads on this promontory and these beads, indicating that this was a major manufacturing site in the Mesolithic period, over 10,500 years ago. Wow. So these beads themselves, along with tools, were part of the manufacturing of these objects and all the objects that were associated with this axe factory, Flint Ax Factory. So when we think about Cumbria, when we think about the North Wales coastline, we think Pembrokeshire, North Wales coast, and we think about Neolithic factories. And whoever mentioned Grimes Graves earlier on, we're thinking, well, yeah, this all happened in the Neolithic period, but it also happened in the Mesolithic period, thousands of years earlier. So I think it's absolutely amazing, right? So it's talking about, there are 700 of these being found, 700 of these objects being found. Amazing. We'll give you some dates and some other information. So these are some of the flints that have been produced at the site. So the first flints were noticed in 1880 due to a storm event. Had eroded, the storm had eroded the topsoil. And I haven't got an image of this next thing, but in the 1920s, a figurine was found alongside a group of beads. It's just sort of, yeah, wow. Andy, we're coming to the end of the Mesolithic period. It's just getting so interesting. So a figurine, beads, factories, buildings, footprints, all these things going on in the Mesolithic period. I couldn't even get my words out then. So in 1979, they excavated no fewer than 12,000 flints. What? Hang on a minute. Stop. Hang on. The 12,000 flints found at this site. And then the other site, there were 22,000 flints found in one area. And you're thinking, there's just so much vibrance going on. Wow. Most of the flints were made by chapping pebbles that had been collected on the coast and napping them and making them into tradable objects. So there we go. Those types of pebbles, flint pebbles off the beach. Now you're going to get flint pebbles on the Cumbria coastline as well as the Isle of Man. So look out for them. And this is just sort of, that type of image there. We've seen that before, haven't we? And we're thinking, well, lots going on. However, if we want to look at more practical, and we want to think about the areas that they're actually excavating, and we're going to go with the Covline site. There we go. What a big area that they're looking at excavating. That's all been eroded by the sea. Can I make another comment now? What we're going to do, we're going to get to those images that we had a few moments ago. And Covline. Okay, where is it? Right. Covline. Back to this site. There we go. This is the official Royal Commission on Ancient Historical Monuments. We got there, and I want to make that point. That there, the area. I'm going to be very, very productive in what I say now. Archaeologists don't usually undertake excavations in areas like this, because what happens as soon as you take the sods of earth away, the root system will never establish. So the work in 1979 has been mainly done in areas which have been eroded away. And this is the area again that we see eroding evidence in the 1880s. So the other point as well is that we've got to remember as well, there would be a lot more of this land here, a lot more of this sort of rocky landscape. The coastline would have been probably about 3-4 miles further out, and this is again in the Mesolithic period. So even here, the coastline was a lot further out, and all that rock there, all these shelves would have actually been part of the land, and obviously the coastline. So these flints that they're actually achieving access to, as in a word, are flints that had been collected from some miles away. So the raised ground here would have provided good views across the surrounding landscape. Perfect. They haven't found any remains of they haven't found any remains of a settlement. And they believe that this could have been lost with all the rest of this coastline being eroded away. But they got evidence of all of these, the tools, the blades, the scrapers. They're talking about even some of the flints being used as drill bits to create the holes.
Carl?
Yeah?
They're not really looking at the pictures then, are they? Because on the left of that one on the screen now is what looks like a roundhouse.
Well,
above, no. Yeah, keep going left. Above the sea.
Oh, there.
Yeah.
where?
These things.
Yeah. I would be, there's lot, there's another one above it as well. I was looking on one of the original pictures, there was a big curve, and I thought, I wonder what that is. There's lots of really weird markings there.
Anyway, Andy, the sort of parameters of these types of buildings, they were really big buildings in the Mesolithic period, and that one there would suit the bill.
Yeah. And it looks like it's next to another one, and then another one above it and things. I mean, it might just be that the way the marsh is growing and all the rest of it, but
they look like midden mounds.
Yeah, could well. Be, if they're not looking very hard, are they?
No, I don't think they are.
Perhaps that's over the headland, and they can't see it from where they're at.
Oh no, it's over there, Andy. Forget it.
Yeah.
Go away. Stop it.
Yeah. Anyway.
Oh, right, yeah. Anyway, crack on. Right,
yeah.
Sorry, yeah, good. But anyway, so obviously, what they've got is lots of evidence from this site. So in other words, it's a platform, it's a processing area. But haven't we had warnings about processing areas before? When Graham Clark was excavating in 1948 at Starcar, it was just like, this is an activity processing area, and now we know it was a lot more than that. There was settlement and everything there. So there's a lot more to be found and seen. Now, the beads themselves from Nab Head, 700 beads, and these have been made from this describing them as tiny flat pebbles, the type of tiny flat pebbles that that I use to toss into the sea, because I love skimming stones, and these are the types of ones, so perfect for skimming. And the beads that they have been, hang on, if we go down there, we got that one there. These are those little pebbles. You can clearly see that that's been drilled into, and you could probably work out that itself could have been drilled into by a flint tool, a drill. So these tiny pebbles are between 2 and 3 millimeters in thickness, so they're going to be quite easy to, well, not easy to drill through, but it's going to be straightforward to drill through into the middle. Beads have been found at other Mesolithic sites in Britain, but not in such large quantities as here. Drilling the minute holes with the tools available would have been skilled work. It's thought the beads were, well, I'm going to read this out, but not that I'm going to agree with it. It's thought that the beads were status symbols and may have been traded between groups of people in different areas. Well, status symbols, there's a lot of them, so everyone's got a bit of status. But what I'm going to say is that we'll ditch that bit, and may have been traded between groups of people in different areas. Well, interesting thing there. So what I would like to do now is I've got some other text I would like to look at. We'll keep that one there. This is a great site. Covline to me is a very accurate site to use as a resource, but it's not always got everything on there. But today has come up as trump, so I'm really happy with this today. So let's see what Covline has to say about this landscape. There's been excavation work undertaken by Dyfed Archaeological Trust. And we're just going to read this out here. The Nab Head is one of the more prominent of the many small headlands along the irregular perimeter of the Scoma Peninsula, which is the bit that sticks out in Wales on the west, rather than the one that sticks down at the bottom, which is the Gower, which divides St. Bride's Bay to the north from Milford Haven, which I'm sure people would have come across. The headland thus lies almost at the farthest southwest extremity of Wales, forming a small northwards facing promontory of old red sandstone. So obviously it's rather interesting. We've got a really soft rock there, which is being eroded into the sea, amongst other rocks that are a lot more hardier. And obviously that long distance that's been eroded away to get to this site, where we're now finding the evidence. And again, the only way we can really suitably work on this site is in response to erosion. As erosion, the archaeology is going to be available for us to look at, but it's not wise to excavate here when the grasses are still there, because when you start removing the grasses, you remove the bits of the headland and it erodes a lot quicker. So it's the grasses, amazingly, keeping everything there. The Nab Head is about 100 meters long. So if we go back to there, 100 meters long by 40 meters across at its widest point. It is surrounded on all sides by cliffs, which are at their most abrupt and tallest along its western edge. The headland narrows at its junction with the mainland at a point called the Neck. So that's the neck there. And it is here that that further faulting is concentrated and erosion, which will eventually isolate the headland. But that's where they're finding everything. That's where the erosion is allowing them to find lots of the flint. And it says a modern gully erosion is now eaten into both this and the overlying post-glacial soil, in which the quantities of Mesolithic flint are being exposed. So in other words, you've got you've got the post-glacial soil that's sort of left behind by the last glaciation, and then within all that, you've got all these Mesolithic flints. There's actually two sites known as Nabhead. There's Nabhead 1 and Nabhead 2. Nabhead 2 is close by. Similar evidence. So let's look at a little bit more of the detail here. And if anyone's thinking, oh my God, how long is this going to last today? Well, we've got about 10 minutes, folks. So we've got that there. Bit more of that there as it looking down. And this red sandstone where they're working. Flints were first noted across the headland strip bare of soil by the Atlantic gales by an Edward Laws in 1880. Stone tools and beads were collected from a factory, interesting, at around the same time by Colin Lambton. Further digging was carried out by certain Gordon Williams in the 1920s. And he found a figurine and 9 beads in excavating in the 1920s. 2 small trial trenches were later excavated by a chap by the name of Professor Wainwright, which revealed a few flints. And this was in the late 60s, 70s. So unfortunately, there is a downside to all of this. It's believed that the archaeologists have unwittingly brought treasure hunters to the site because they've been moving some of the turf and trying to find more of these little beads, and that's caused further exacerbation. So the archaeologists have done the right thing, but people have gone in there digging away in areas which are under the turf. The turf has not been able to re-establish, and more erosion. So unwittingly, large areas look like has been destroyed by private collectors. So the archaeologists have done it right, but the private collectors haven't. Inspection of the site in 1978 confirmed artifacts of stratigraphy, the context of archaeology, were still present on the site. Even with all the damage, the earlier excavation, there was still stuff there. But mind you, more stuff is being exposed by erosion. An area of 186 square meters, completely or partially excavated. And within that time in the 1970s into the 1980s, they recovered in the earthen areas, not anywhere near the turf is, where the grasses are, that's left, right? They found 12,000 flints. So what we're going to do now, I've got a little bit of a list here, and then that'll just call it a day. Before we go on to this list, artifacts on display in Tempe Museum, National Museum of Wales, and there's even artifacts in Cambridge, start again in Cambridge, a museum in Haverfordwest, Carmarthenshire. So there's lots of these artifacts around. So here we go. Should we get another image? There they are, inspecting the surface. There he is. The excavations from 1979 and 1980 recovered a total of 12,000 flints and stone objects. And lots of these stone objects are believed to have been struck off bits of the pebbles and all sorts of other evidence. So in total, wait for it, in this area, this is staggering, they found nearly 40,000 flint and stone objects, 39,863 objects in total in over a 2-year period. So it makes you wonder how much evidence was originally there. They're saying that 98% of this material is waste material, so indicating that there's a factory situation going on there. They come across 155 blades and bladelets and cores, 143 microliths, scrapers as well, 114 scrapers. And they're indicating that these are adzes and and we've had that discussion about adzes as well. The adzes and axes. So we've got evidence of complete objects, and most of them are incomplete. Now, this is the thing. This chap here, a chap by the name of I think it's Anthony David. His surname's David anyway. In total, 692 beads are known to have been recovered from the site. 64 came from the excavations in 1979 and 1980. So 64 in those excavations out of the nearly 40,000 objects. All are made from small discs of water-smooth blue-grey shale, identical to specimens that can be collected in nearby at other sites. The discs are usually oval, with occasional subangular perimeters, are usually between 2 and 3 millimeters thick. With a few exceptions, they are perforated by a central hole, U-shaped in section, and drilled from one face only, which is rather interesting. Obviously, rather interesting features within that landscape. Again, look at it side on. I told you these images were spectacular. This is from the Covline site. Lots of aerial photographs used for surveying reasons. And we'll come back to that in a moment. But that's the type of soil that we're talking about. And there you go. And what we're going to do, we're going to analyze this image now, just briefly, and then we'll call it a day. It's a lot more clearly. So finding these pendants or whatever they are, right? So anything other than the red stuff is usually going to be artifacts. You've got a bit of I think you've got a bit of flint there. You've got lots of debitage, waste bits, all the other bits here that indicates activity on the site. So anything that isn't red is usually waste material, even that little bit by there. So again, this is a modern image, a more recent image. I think this isn't going to be from the 1979, 1980. It's too clear. This is more of a recent image, and obviously they're still finding artifacts there that are slowly seeing their way of life into the modern day and age to be recovered and studied. So what we're going to do, we're going to call that a day now. That I managed to get back down to 9:45. So anyone want to dive in and say anything about this image? If not, I'll take this image off and we'll all talk. Anything you want to say about anything about this image before we go?
I'm just wondering about the pendant there. I wonder if because there was an awful lot of them. I wonder, they couldn't have been fishing net weights, could they?
Yes.
Ah.
Loom weights as well. Oh, loom weights. No, not in the Mesolithic period.
No, they're very small for that, though, aren't they?
Oh,
Yes.
shut up, Andy.
Maybe to go around a fishing net, do you think?
Yeah, possibly a throw net. Yeah, I mean, they're
possibly a throw net. Yeah. So
they're a centimetre across, aren't they? So they're actually quite small. So.
Yeah. Well, obviously, Andy's right. It's a bit too small for a loom weight. But then again, if you double up on them to be used as loom, I don't know. But the one thing,
who knows?
Yeah, the thing is, the question is, who knows? The answer is that we always think these are pendants.
Yeah.
Can you remember that one that was found at Starcar, the wonderful one with the lines and stuff on it, right? So
the holes right in the middle.
Yeah, but not all of them have got them in right in the middle. And the other point as well is, right? The other point as well is these are ones that were left behind. These are not the ones that were traded.
Yeah, I think the importance here is the social context. The fact that this was manufactured on such a scale means that they had to have had a market. They had to have had trade lines. They had to have got marketing. They've got, it's just astonishing, the organization that goes with it to justify making them.
Go on, say it, Andy. That means there were lots more people in the Mesolithic period.
Absolutely, yeah.
Could there have been, I mean, maybe I'm being ridiculous, but an early form of money. Or,
Yeah,
Oh, how
why
dare you
not?
even mention money? No, 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 definitely not. They didn't have money back then. They didn't have language. They didn't have anything written down. Blah blah blah. So we're challenging all these things, and also the other thing as well is I'm going to mention it, right? I'm going to mention it, and I don't mention this enough. When we think about, there was a lot more gold available in the Neolithic than there ever was, and in the Iron Age and Bronze Age. But as there's a point to this, as the ground itself started to erode into the lower valleys, and all the seams and everything were being covered up, there was less gold, there was less being found in the rivers and all the rest of it. So the point to be made is that other things were more valuable than gold. Right, that's the point I want to make. Other things were more valuable than gold. Yeah. Things that meant you put effort into them were more valuable than gold. So when you get to the Iron Age, for example, an iron torque would be far, 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 far more valuable than any bucket of gold you can ever chuck a stick at, because it would take so much effort to create an iron torque in the Iron Age that people would have paid a lot of gold for it, right? If gold was that valuable. When we go back to this point, the effort of making a hole in this is time, and time means money, right? And the thing is, right? If we want to look at the adage, right? Somebody's got a cow, right? You haven't got much to trade for that cow, so if you've got a form of currency, you can pay for that cow. Mm-hmm. And whether it's an axe or a load of these things. And the other thing as well is most people wouldn't have seen flat pebbles. I live I used to live in Barry, and I'll go there every week. You don't find flat pebbles usually. You find you because the South Wales coastline, you get lias limestone, right? And lias limestones, you don't really usually get flat pebbles, right? Flat pebbles are from certain areas. So if you haven't got flat pebbles, they're going to be quite valuable to you. So you're going to trade them. Got it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right. So right. Let's just see if there's any more questions from anyone. Stop the share.
No.
Right. Go for it.
No.
Right, okay then. We'll start with Roger Dodge. Any questions, lovely?
That's fine, thanks.
Oh, right. We're going to let Anne talk. Anne, give it your best, babe.
I don't know about a question, but I think something that the last bringing it together, in a sense, that what you've done about it. You've shown us places like today that Hoyk thought parts of the Flints were similar to the ones in Hoyk, and the Isle of Man. So things were linking across distances, perhaps. And then other things you've shown us which are so just for one place, these factories, for instance, and the calendar last week. So that there seems to be things that are special about one place, but then people are moving around, perhaps. I think, perhaps, have you shown us that? Is that part of what?
Well, I think the point is, I think maybe what we should do is be a bit more sort of elegant with the truth. I think there's a lot more diversity. Whether people are moving around in the mass levels that we're talking about or we're not talking about, what I'm going to use, I'm going to fudge that one. I'm going to fudge that. I'm going to say the diversity in the Mesolithic period is so wide ranging, right? There's so much going on, right? It's so much more complex than you could ever have thought 6 months ago, right? That's what we're talking about. I'm going to say it. Anyone can do trade, right? But diversity is something very different, right?
Yeah, all sorts of things coming.
All sorts of things are coming, exactly. That's the way. Anyway, thank you for that, Anne. What about, who are we going to go for next? Yeah, Drina, babes. Anything you've got to say is always valuable, right? I will never ever insult you, never ever upset you. Drina, give it to us.
I don't know what to say now.
Okay.
You do, get on with it.
No,
Go
I've
on.
got no questions. I asked them before. That was great. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Who's next? Margaret.
Well, I do find it interesting the way that everything seems to link up from area to area, and the similarities between different places that are quite a long way from one another. And I can't get over that domestic dog tooth that they found at Blixmead, and they traced it all the way back to the Vale of Pickering. So people had gone right across country, hundreds of miles.
It's also, I'm going to talk about that tooth now. About I don't know, about 15 years ago, you might have found a dog's tooth at Hoyk, and they may have estimated that possibly there was domesticated dogs, and maybe there was a permanent building somewhere in Britain. Now it's just so wide ranging what we're seeing.
Yeah.
It's asking the understanding of the Mesolithic period to be equal. Oh God, this is a dodgy thing, but is equal to anything that we can find in the Neolithic period.
Well, and
I
those
just said that.
the buildings on at Ronaldsway, the post holes that they found on the Isle of Man, and they're just the same as the ones at Starcar.
Yes,
They're all the same. So they all obviously travelled, visited different regions all the time.
They just thought the same thing at the same time because there was the similar weather conditions or whatever. There's different ways of looking at that, you know.
Yeah.
There is, and
to travel all that way through a forested land can't have been easy.
Then again, it was the same experiences going on. There's lots of different ways of looking at it. There's sedentary people living in one area, and there's people hunter-gatherer. There's people doing what they did at Warren in Aberdeen. There's people having factories in the Mesolithic period. Really? God, yes, we've done it today.
And I'm sure there must have been travel around the coast. They must have had boats.
Oh,
for sure.
Yeah, and why not? We're getting evidence from Boulder Cliff. We're getting evidence from Starcar. You know, we're getting it. So, Roger, anything you want to say, darling?
No, been on me. No.
All right. Okay. Do you know, David wants to go. I'm leaving him to the last. Right, Andy.
No, only just a kind of a modern observation of that is it's really interesting that the diversity that's there we don't have today because of social media and mass media. Everybody copies everybody else, thinking it's a very good argument to get rid of mobile phones, isn't it?
Oh, Andrew, fancy saying that. Oh.
Carl doesn't conform though, does he?
No.
What's that?
Carl doesn't conform, do you?
No.
I don't conform. Do you know what? We've had 4 people watching on YouTube as well, which is brilliant. So we got to you know, if I don't know if they got anything to say on YouTube, but they're not saying anything on YouTube. Anyway, right, okay. Andy, if you haven't got anything else to say.
No, nothing else. No, thank you. It was very interesting. Fascinating site, that last one.
Absolutely. And I tell you what, people need to like and subscribe as well on YouTube. Anyway, David, anything you'd like to say before we call it a day? And next week we're doing the last of Doggerland next week. Anything anyone wants to say? David, anything you want to say?
No, thank you.
Okay, anyway, David, I'm going to say goodbye. So, David, I'll see you next week, David.
Bye, David.
Bye.
Right. So, we love David. We do. I'm glad he joined us this week. I don't know what happened to Claire.
That was odd.
Well, Claire is odd.
Now you don't.
Right then. Okay, gang. See you soon. Next month.
See you, Raj.
So you've got to go, have you, Roger? All right,
yeah, that's it.
Well, we're going to call it a day. Roger and Margaret and Drina and Anne and Andy, if there's anything you wanted to say, let me know. Oh, Drina was going to bring a friend along tonight as well. She's got interest in the background.
Yep.
I did.
Yeah, he looks happy. He's obviously enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Well, he always enjoys it. Exactly. Well, look at that cheesy smile he's got there. Good old it.
Oh. Right then. Bye-bye. Right,
okay, then. Well, I'm going to call it a day if nobody else has got anything else to say. So, Andy and Roger and Margaret and Drina, I'll see you next week. And Idris, see you, Ed.
Right, thank you. See you all later. Bye.
Laters.
Thanks.
Laters, bruv. Tra. Oh, that was good. We had, was it 4 people watching on YouTube? So that's good. So makes a change. So nothing in a chat box. That's done. Nothing in a chat box. That's done. Okay, don't forget to like and subscribe. Yeah, let's just go for it. Happy days. Happy days. Anyway, thank you very much, and take care. Don't let the bed bugs bite. And that's it. Stop live. And good. Yes. So that was good that we had that today. Nice. Take care. Cheers, guys. Bye.